The space around Jupiter was quiet, too quiet for Admiral Kethfor's liking. He stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. His ship was beautiful and deadly. Long silver hull with glowing blue lines. Weapons that stuck out like sharp teeth. Energy shields that made the whole ship shimmer like a rainbow. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 43 star systems in the last 50 years. Their ships were the most feared in the galaxy. When aliens saw the curved hulls and glowing weapon arrays, they knew to surrender or die. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we have found something." Kethfer turned his 4 eyes toward the young officer. "What is it?" "Human ships, sir." "A small convoy. They appear to be cargo vessels." The Admiral smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Humans were new to space. They had only been traveling between stars for about 20 years. Every report said they were weak. Peaceful traders who ran from fights. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life. 5 human ships moved slowly through space near the edge of Earth's solar system. They were ugly things. Big rectangular boxes with no style, no grace. They looked like flying warehouses with engines stuck on the back. "Look at those pathetic vessels," Kethfer laughed. "They have no weapons, no shields. They are just metal boxes full of trade goods." His tactical officer studied the readings. "Sir, I detect no energy signatures that match weapon systems. No shield generators. They appear to be simple merchant vessels." "Of course they are," the Admiral said. "Humans are too weak to build real warships. They send their merchants out with no protection. It is almost sad." The lead human ship was called the Peaceful Trader. It was the largest of the 5 vessels. Huge cargo bay doors covered most of its hull. Small communication towers stuck out at odd angles. The whole thing looked like it had been built by someone who cared more about carrying stuff than looking good. "Open a channel," Kethfer commanded. The screen changed to show the bridge of the human ship. A man in a simple blue uniform sat in the captain's chair. He had brown hair and calm eyes. He looked relaxed, like he was just out for a pleasant trip. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth merchant vessel Peaceful Trader," the human said. "We're on a peaceful trading mission to the Centauri colonies. How can we help you?" Admiral Kethfer stepped forward. "I am Admiral Kethfer of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You have entered space claimed by the Empire. Your vessels and cargo now belong to us." Captain Morrison raised his eyebrows. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. This is neutral space, according to galactic law. We're just peaceful traders carrying supplies to human colonies." "Galactic law?" Kethfer laughed. "We make the law here. Surrender your ships now, or we will take them by force." The human captain looked thoughtful. "Well, that's not really an option for us. Maybe you should contact Earth's diplomatic corps. They can work this out with your government." "Diplomatic corps?" The Admiral's laughter grew louder. "Look at your ships, human. They are helpless. You have no weapons, no shields, no way to fight back. You will surrender now, or you will die." Captain Morrison sighed. "I really wish you hadn't said that." "What?" "We tried to be polite. We offered to talk this out, but you chose violence." Morrison looked directly at the Admiral. "That was your mistake." Kethfer was confused. "What are you talking about?" "You cannot threaten us. You are defenseless." "Are we?" Morrison asked. He pressed a button on his chair. "All ships, this is the captain. We have a hostile contact. Switch to combat configuration." The Admiral stared at the screen. "Combat configuration? What nonsense is this?" He got his answer quickly. The human ships began to change. The cargo bay doors on the Peaceful Trader slid open. But instead of cargo, massive gun barrels emerged. The rectangular hull split along hidden seams. Armor plates shifted and locked into new positions. Weapon systems that had been hidden inside. The ship now pointed outward like the fangs of a metal beast. Impossible, Kethver whispered. The other human ships were changing too. The plain metal boxes became sleek warships. Missile launchers appeared from nowhere. Energy cannons slid out of concealed ports. Shield generators that had been offline suddenly blazed to life, covering each ship in a protective glow. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, panic in his voice. "I'm reading massive energy signatures from all 5 human vessels. They have weapons, heavy weapons, and their shields are stronger than ours." The peaceful trader was no longer a cargo ship. It had become something else entirely. A predator made of metal and energy. Its hull was covered in weapon systems. Its shields pulsed with power. It looked like it could fight an entire fleet and win. Captain Morrison appeared on the screen again. He still looked calm, but now there was something else in his eyes. Something cold and dangerous. "This is Earth Defense Force vessel Peaceful Trader," he said. "You have committed an act of war against a peaceful convoy. I strongly suggest you stand down immediately." "Earth Defense Force?" Kethver was stunned. "But you said you were merchants." "We are merchants," Morrison replied. "We're also soldiers. Every human ship that travels beyond our solar system is both. We learned long ago that the best way to keep peace is to be ready for war." The admiral looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at the screens in shock. The human ships had gone from helpless cargo vessels to deadly warships in less than 60 seconds. "You are bluffing," Kethver said, but his voice shook. "You cannot have hidden such powerful weapons. Would you like a demonstration?" Morrison asked. Before the admiral could answer, the peaceful trader fired a single shot from its main cannon. The energy beam struck an asteroid floating nearby. The rock, which had been there for millions of years, simply vanished, completely destroyed. "That was our lowest power setting," Morrison said. "Please don't make us show you what happens at full power." Admiral Kethver looked at his tactical display. The 5 human ships had formed a battle line. Their weapons were trained on his fleet. His 12 warships, which had seemed so powerful a few minutes ago, now looked small and weak. "This is impossible," he said. "You look like cargo ships." "That's the point," Morrison replied. "Would you attack something that looked dangerous? Of course not. You attack things that look weak and helpless. That's exactly what we're counting on." The admiral's communications officer turned to him. "Sir, we're receiving surrender demands from the other human vessels. They're asking us to power down our weapons and prepare to be escorted out of the system." Kethver stared at the screen. The human captain was waiting for his response. Behind him, the bridge of the peaceful trader looked normal. Just regular people doing their jobs. But he could see weapon control stations that hadn't been there before. Combat displays that showed the positions of every Zephyrian ship. "How?" he asked. "How what?" Morrison replied. "How did you hide all of this? The weapons, the shields, the combat systems. Your ships looked like simple cargo vessels." Captain Morrison smiled. "They are cargo vessels. We're carrying medical supplies, food, and manufacturing equipment to New Geneva Colony. But we're also warships. Every human merchant ship is designed to serve both purposes. But why? Why not just build warships that look like warships?" "Because then people would know we're dangerous," Morrison said. "And dangerous things get attacked first. We prefer to look harmless until someone forces us to prove otherwise." Admiral Kethver realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had attacked what he thought was a helpless merchant convoy. Instead, he had started a fight with the most deceptive military force he had ever encountered. "What do you want?" He asked. "We want you to leave," Morrison said. "Go back to your empire. Tell them what you learned here today. Tell them that Earth's merchant marine is not to be underestimated." The Admiral nodded slowly. "And if we refuse?" Morrison's smile disappeared. "Then you'll learn why we designed our warships to look like cargo ships, the hard way." Cathver looked at his tactical display one more time. His ships were outnumbered and outgunned by what had appeared to be defenseless traders. The humans had turned the tables completely. "Stand down weapons," he ordered his crew. "All ships withdraw to the edge of the system." "Wise choice," Morrison said. "Have a safe trip home, Admiral." As the Zephyrian ships turned away, Admiral Cathver kept staring at the human vessels. They were changing back to their cargo ship appearance, weapons disappearing, armor plates shifting. In a few minutes, they would look like simple merchant vessels again, but he would never see them the same way. None of his people would. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson about Earth's merchant marine. They were not what they seemed. The news traveled fast across the galaxy. Admiral Cathver's report reached the Zephyrian High Command within hours. From there, it spread through diplomatic channels, trade networks, and military intelligence services. Within 3 days, every major species in the galaxy had heard the same impossible story: human cargo ships that turned into warships, merchant vessels that could destroy Imperial cruisers, peaceful traders who carried enough firepower to level a small moon. Nobody believed it at first. Commander Lisa Hayes sat in her office at Earth Defense Command, watching the flood of incoming messages. Her desk was covered with data tablets showing communications from dozens of different species, questions, demands for explanations, and quite a few threats. "Commander," her aide called from the doorway, "the Galactic Council is requesting an emergency session. They want Earth to explain what happened in the Jupiter incident." Lisa nodded. She had been expecting this. "Tell them we'll attend. Set up the hologram system in Conference Room 1. The aide hesitated. "Ma'am, they're also asking if the reports are true about our merchant ships being disguised warships." "Of course they are," Lisa replied. "Did they think we were lying?" "Well, no, but they seem surprised that we've been traveling through their space for 20 years without them knowing." Lisa smiled. That was the whole point. 2 hours later, Lisa stood before the Galactic Council. The hologram system made her appear as a blue, shimmering figure in the great chamber on Nexus Prime. Around her, representatives from 47 different species sat in a massive circle. The council speaker, a tall being with silver skin and no visible eyes, raised his hand for silence. "Commander Hayes, the council has reviewed the reports from the Jupiter incident. We need clarification on several points." "Of course, Speaker Veltar," Lisa replied. "What would you like to know? Is it true that your merchant vessels are actually military ships in disguise?" "Yes." The simple answer caused a stir throughout the chamber. Lisa could hear the translation systems working overtime as dozens of species began talking at once. "Order." Speaker Veltar called out. "Commander Hayes, please explain this policy." Lisa touched a control on her wrist. The hologram system displayed a technical diagram of a human merchant vessel. It looked like a normal cargo ship from the outside. "This is the EDF vessel Honest Trader," she said. "To most observers, it appears to be a simple merchant ship. Large cargo bays, basic engines, minimal systems." The diagram changed, showing the same ship with its hidden systems revealed. Weapon ports opened along the hull. Shield generators emerged from concealed compartments. The cargo bays showed missile storage and fighter launch tubes. In reality, every human ship that travels beyond our solar system is capable of defending itself and others. We call it the Merchant Marine Defense Protocol. The Corvin representative, a being that looked like a walking tree, spoke up. But this is deception. You have been traveling through our space for decades. We allowed you passage because you appeared to be peaceful traders. We are peaceful traders, Lisa replied. We carry legitimate cargo, conduct honest business, and follow all galactic trade laws. But we also carry the means to defend ourselves if attacked. This is highly irregular, said the Altarian delegate, a creature that resembled a large blue crystal. Military vessels are supposed to be identified as such. There are protocols. Lisa nodded. There are indeed protocols for military vessels. But our ships are not military vessels. They are merchant ships with military capabilities. There's a difference. The Zephyrian representative, a scarred veteran named General Foxfall, leaned forward. You have been lying to us for 20 years. Have we? Lisa asked. Did we ever claim our ships were defenseless? Did we ever say we couldn't fight back if attacked? Or did you simply assume we were weak because we didn't look threatening? The chamber fell silent. Lisa could see the various delegates thinking about her words. She was right, and they knew it. The truth is, Lisa continued, humans learned something important from our own history. The most successful military forces were often those that didn't look like military forces. We studied the concept of disguised warships from our ancient naval traditions. She touched her wrist control again. The hologram showed images from Earth's history. Old sailing ships that looked like merchant vessels but carried hidden cannons. Submarines disguised as fishing boats. Aircraft that appeared to be cargo planes but were actually bombers. We call them Q-ships, Lisa explained. Warships disguised as merchant vessels. The concept worked so well on Earth's oceans that we decided to adapt it for space. The Rigelian delegate, a being with tentacles instead of arms, spoke up. But why? Why not simply build obvious warships like the rest of us? Because obvious warships invite conflict, Lisa replied. When you see a military vessel, you prepare for battle. When you see a cargo ship, you relax. Pirates attack cargo ships, not warships. Aggressive empires target what they think are weak merchants, not dangerous military vessels. She paused, looking around the chamber. How many of you have had your trade routes attacked by pirates in the last year? Several delegates raised hands or made other gestures of acknowledgement. Earth has had 0 pirate attacks on our merchant vessels in the last 5 years, Lisa said. 0. Not because pirates are afraid of our military, but because they don't know our merchants are our military. The chamber erupted in discussion. Lisa could hear dozens of different languages as the various species debated among themselves. Doctor Peter Walsh, Earth's chief military strategist, appeared as a second hologram beside Lisa. He was a thin man with gray hair and kind eyes. He looked more like a teacher than a warrior. If I may, he said, I'd like to explain the philosophy behind our approach. Speaker Valtar nodded. Please proceed, Dr. Walsh. Every species in this chamber has made the same mistake, Walsh began. You build warships that look like warships. Beautiful, intimidating, obviously dangerous. You want your enemies to see your strength and be afraid. He gestured to the various delegates. The Zephyrians have those lovely curved hulls with visible weapon arrays. The Corvin ships look like living crystals covered in organic weapons. The Altarians build those impressive pyramid-shaped vessels. What's wrong with that? Asked the Corvin delegate. Nothing, if you want to fight, Walsh replied. But what if you want to avoid fighting? What if you want to trade, explore, and live in peace? Then looking dangerous becomes a problem. The hologram changed to show a map of the galaxy. Trade routes were marked in different colors. Look at this, Walsh said. Red lines show routes that have been attacked by pirates in the last year. Blue lines show routes that are heavily patrolled by military vessels. Green lines show routes that are considered safe for civilian traffic. The map was mostly red and blue lines. Only a few green lines existed, mostly in the heavily defended core systems. Now look at this, Walsh continued. The map changed to show human trade routes. They were all marked in green. Every human trade route is considered safe, not because we patrol them with warships, but because our merchants are our warships. The Regellian delegate waved his tentacles. But surely pirates must know by now. After the Jupiter incident, the secret is out. Lisa smiled. Is it? What exactly do pirates know? They know that some human ships can fight back. But which ones? Are all human ships disguised warships? Are only some of them armed? Are there different types of weapons on different ships? She paused for effect. They don't know. And uncertainty is the greatest weapon of all. A pirate might attack a ship. That looks weak, but they won't attack a ship that might be a hidden warship. The Zephyrian general leaned back in his chair. So you make every ship a potential threat. Exactly, Walsh said. But we don't make them look like threats. We make them look like opportunities. Until someone tries to take advantage of that opportunity. The Altarian delegate's crystal form flickered with different colors. This is a radical change in military thinking. You have essentially militarized your entire merchant fleet. Have we? Lisa asked. Or have we created a merchant fleet that can defend itself? Our ships still carry cargo. They still conduct trade. They still follow civilian laws and regulations. But they can also protect themselves and others if necessary. What? About your actual military? Asked the Corvin delegate. Your obvious warships? Lisa and Walsh exchanged glances. What obvious warships? Lisa asked. The chamber fell silent again. The implications were staggering. You mean ... Speaker Valtar began. Every human ship in space serves dual purposes, Walsh confirmed. Exploration. Vessels that can fight. Research ships that carry weapons. Colony ships that can defend themselves. And yes, merchant ships that can destroy cruisers. But how do you maintain discipline? Asked the Regellian delegate. How do you prevent merchant captains from acting like military commanders? Every captain in our merchant marine is trained in both roles, Lisa explained. They know how to conduct business, follow trade laws, and negotiate deals. They also know how to fight, defend convoys, and coordinate with other ships in battle. Like Captain Morrison, Walsh added. He's been a merchant captain for 12 years. He's also a decorated naval officer. He can negotiate a cargo contract in the morning and command a battle fleet in the afternoon. The Zephyrian general shook his head. This exploit. The news from the Galactic Council spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. But not everyone believed what they heard. In the dark corners of space, where pirates gathered to share stories and plan raids, the talk was different. Humans. With secret warships? Laughed Scarthek the Bloody, leader of the Crimson Nebula pirates. Impossible. I've seen their ships. Metal boxes with engines. No weapons, no shields, no fight in them. Scarthek was a massive creature with red skin and 4 arms. Scars covered his body from 100 battles. His pirate fleet had terrorized the galaxy for 30 years. They had never lost a major fight. But, boss, said his lieutenant, a nervous creature named Vexpol. The reports from the Zephyrian encounter seem real. They had sensor recordings. Sensor recordings can be faked, Scarthek growled. The Zephyrians are trying to save face after running from a bunch of merchants. They made up this story about hidden weapons to avoid looking weak. The pirate leader stood up in the command center of his flagship, the Blood Reaper. Around him, 40 ships of various sizes and designs formed the largest pirate fleet in the galaxy. They had stolen vessels from dozens of different species. Each ship was covered in weapons and armor plating. Besides, Skarthik continued, even if some human ships have hidden weapons, they can't all be warships. The galaxy would have noticed. Someone would have seen them being built. He looked at the star map on his display. Several human trade routes were marked in green. Rich convoys carrying valuable cargo between Earth colonies. There, he said, pointing to a route near the Centauri. System. Human convoys scheduled to pass through the Broken Ring asteroid field tomorrow. 4 ships carrying medical supplies, food, and manufacturing equipment. That's the same type of convoy the Zephyrians encountered, Vexpol said nervously. Exactly, Skarthik smiled, showing his sharp teeth. If the humans really have hidden weapons, we'll find out. If they don't, we'll take their cargo and prove the Zephyrians are liars. The next day, Captain Tony Rodriguez sat in the command, chair of the Simple Farmer, watching the asteroid field ahead. His ship looked like every other human cargo vessel. Big, boxy, and completely ordinary. The kind of ship that pirates love to attack. Captain, his navigator said, we're entering. The Broken Ring. ETA to the other side is 6 hours. Tony nodded. Any sign of trouble? Not yet, sir. But this area is known for pirate activity. Maybe we should call for escort. Tony smiled. We are the escort, Lieutenant. Behind the Simple Farmer, 3 other ships followed in formation. The Honest Merchant, the Grain Hauler, and the Peaceful Journey. To anyone watching, they looked like a normal cargo convoy. Slow, vulnerable, and carrying valuable supplies. Sir, the communications officer called out, I'm picking up multiple contacts. Large formation approaching from the asteroid field. Tony's expression didn't change. How many? 40 ships, sir. Mixed configuration. They're not broadcasting identification codes. Pirates, Tony said calmly. Red alert. All ships prepare. For combat configuration. Do not engage until fired upon. The bridge crew began working at their stations. But nothing obvious changed about the Simple Farmer. It still looked like a harmless cargo ship. The pirate fleet emerged from the asteroid field like a pack of hungry wolves. Skarthik's blood. Reaper led the formation, its hull covered in spikes and weapon ports. Behind it came dozens of smaller ships, each one bristling with guns and missiles. Human vessels. Skarthik's voice boomed across the communication channel. You are surrounded. Surrender your ships and cargo, and we might let you live. Captain Rodriguez opened a channel to the pirate fleet. This is Captain Tony Rodriguez, of the merchant vessel Simple Farmer. We are on a peaceful mission carrying medical supplies to the new Geneva colony. Please allow us to pass. Skarthik's laughter echoed through space. Medical supplies? How touching. We'll take good care of them. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. I'm afraid I can't do that, Tony replied. These supplies are needed by sick colonists. We have a duty to deliver them. Duty? Skarthik snarled. Your duty is to stay alive. Surrender now, or we'll blast you out of space. Tony looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. The other ships in the convoy were also prepared. Their disguises were perfect, but underneath, they were all deadly weapons. This is your only warning, Tony said into the communicator. Cease hostile actions and disperse immediately. Earth does not negotiate with pirates. The pirate leader's laughter grew louder. Earth does not negotiate? What will you do? Throw cargo containers at us? Your ships have no weapons, don't they? Tony asked. He pressed a button on his chair. All ships, this is the captain. We have hostile contacts. Switch to combat configuration. Weapons free. The transformation was swift and terrible. The Simple Farmer's cargo bay doors slid open to reveal massive railguns. The hull split apart as armor plating shifted into combat positions. Missile launchers emerged from hidden compartments. Energy shields flickered to life around the entire ship. The other 3 ships in the convoy were changing too. The Honest Merchant became a missile cruiser with dozens of launch tubes. The grain hauler revealed itself as an electronic warfare vessel with powerful jamming systems. The Peaceful Journey deployed fighter drones from concealed bays. Impossible, Scarthic whispered, staring at his tactical display. Where did all those weapons come from? Sir, his tactical officer called out. I'm reading massive energy signatures from all 4 human ships. They have more firepower than our entire fleet. The Simple Farmer was no longer a cargo ship. It had become a battleship with enough weapons to fight a small war. Its main guns were aimed directly at the Blood Reaper. This is Earth Defense Force Vessel Simple Farmer. Tony's voice came over the communication channel. You have threatened a peaceful convoy carrying medical supplies. This is an act of war against Earth and the New Geneva colony. But your merchants, Scarthic protested. We're also soldiers, Tony replied. Every human ship in space serves both purposes. You should have done your research before threatening. U.S. The pirate leader looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at the displays in shock. The 4 human ships had gone from helpless cargo vessels to the most dangerous fleet they had ever seen. You're bluffing, Scarthic said, but his voice shook. You can't have that much firepower hidden in cargo ships. Would you like a demonstration? Tony asked. A large asteroid floated nearby, about the size of a small moon. The Simple Farmer's main gun rotated to target it. The weapon charged with a deep humming sound that could be heard even through the vacuum of space. The railgun fired. The asteroid exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Where there had been solid rock, now there was only dust and debris. That was a warning shot, Tony said. The next one will be aimed at your ship. Scarthic's tactical officer turned to him with panic in his eyes. Sir, their weapons are more powerful than anything I've ever seen. We need to retreat? Retreat? Scarthic roared. We are the Crimson Nebula pirates. We don't retreat from cargo ships. These aren't cargo ships, the tactical officer replied. They're warships pretending to be cargo ships. And they're better armed than we are. The pirate leader looked at his display again. The 4 human vessels had formed a battle line. Their weapons were trained on his fleet. His 40 ships, which had seemed so powerful a few minutes ago, now looked small and weak. Sir, his communications officer called out, the humans are broadcasting a message on all frequencies. Put it through, Scarthic ordered. Tony's voice filled the bridge of every pirate ship. This is Captain Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. You have committed acts of piracy against peaceful merchants. You have threatened medical supplies needed by sick colonists. You have declared war on Earth. The captain paused, letting his words sink in. I am offering you one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted to the nearest Earth base for trial. Refuse, and we will defend ourselves. How many chances do we get? Scarthic asked sarcastically. You just used your only chance, Tony replied. The battle began instantly. The pirate fleet opened fire with everything they had. Hundreds of missiles and energy beams streaked toward the 4 human ships. But the Earth vessels were ready. The Simple Farmer's shields absorbed the missile impacts without even flickering. Its point defense systems shot down incoming projectiles with perfect accuracy. The grain hauler's jamming systems made most of the pirate weapons miss their targets entirely. Then the human ships fired back. The Simple Farmer's railguns spoke with voices like thunder. Each shot punched through pirate ships like they were made of paper. The Honest Merchant's missiles found their targets with deadly precision. The Peaceful Journey's fighter drones swarmed through the pirate formation. Like angry wasps, the battle lasted exactly 12 minutes. When it was over, 37 pirate ships were destroyed. The survivors floated in space, their engines dead, their weapons gone. Scarthic's Blood Reaper was one of the few ships still intact. Its bridge was dark, lit only by emergency lighting. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "we surrender." "Never," Scarthic growled. "We are pirates. We don't surrender to merchants." "They're not merchants," the officer replied. "They're the most dangerous military force I've ever." The destruction of the Crimson Nebula pirates sent shockwaves through the galaxy. But nowhere was the impact felt more strongly than in the halls of the Corvin Defense Alliance. For 300 years, the Alliance had maintained galactic peace. Through careful diplomacy and overwhelming military power, General Paul stood in the war room of the Alliance headquarters, studying holographic displays that showed the wreckage of Scarthic's fleet. The organic walls around him pulsed with soft light, reflecting his growing concern. His tree-like form swayed slightly as he processed the tactical data. 12 minutes, he said to his aide, a smaller Corvin named Velthara. The most feared pirate fleet in the galaxy, destroyed in 12 minutes by 4 cargo ships. The humans claimed they were defending medical supplies, Velthara replied, her branch-like arms rustling with nervousness. But the weapon signatures we detected were military grade. Heavy military grade. General Paul turned away from the display. That's what concerns me. These humans have been traveling through Alliance space for 20 years. We treated them as peaceful merchants. We gave them safe passage, trading rights, even protection in some sectors. And now we learned they were military vessels all along, Velthara finished. Not military vessels, the general corrected. Something new, something we don't understand. Ships that are both merchant and military at the same time. The Alliance had always been careful about military power. They tracked every warship, monitored every weapons test, and maintained detailed records of each species' combat capabilities. It was how they kept the peace. But somehow, Earth had built the most powerful fleet in the galaxy right under their noses. "Sir," Velthara said quietly, "the Council is demanding answers. They want to know if Earth's merchant fleet poses a threat to Alliance security." General Paul considered this. The Alliance included 47 different species, each with their own military forces. But Earth's disguised warships could potentially outgun them all. And nobody knew how many of these hidden weapons were traveling through Alliance space. "Contact Fleet Admiral Blake," he ordered. "Tell her the Alliance requests a demonstration of Earth's military capabilities. We need to understand what we're dealing with." 3 days later, Fleet Admiral Karen Blake arrived at the edge of the Corvin home system with a squadron of 12 human vessels. They looked exactly like what they claimed to be: cargo ships, research vessels, and colony transports. Big, boxy, and completely ordinary. Admiral Blake was a tall woman with short gray hair and sharp blue eyes. She had been commanding Earth's merchant marine for 15 years. To most observers, she looked like a peaceful trader. But General Paul had studied her record. She was also one of Earth's most experienced military commanders. "Admiral Blake," the general said, as her image appeared on his communication screen, "welcome to the Corvin system. Thank you for agreeing to this demonstration." "Thank you for the invitation, General," Blake replied. "Though I should mention that we're actually on a legitimate trade mission. These ships are carrying real cargo for the Corvin colonies. Cargo that can defend itself, I assume?" Blake smiled. "If necessary." The demonstration was arranged for the following day. The Alliance had assembled their finest warships to test human capabilities. 12 Corvin vessels formed the opposing force. Each ship was a work of art, grown rather than built, with organic weapon systems that looked like crystalline flowers. General Ty's Paul watched from his flagship, the Living Garden. Around him, his crew worked at control stations that had grown from the ship's living hull. Everything was smooth, organic, and beautiful. His ships looked like they belonged in a garden, not a battlefield. The human ships, by contrast, looked like they belonged in a scrapyard. Ugly, industrial, purely functional. No style, no grace, no obvious weapons. Beginning combat exercise. Admiral Blake announced. Rules of engagement. Simulated weapons only, shields at maximum, no actual damage. Acknowledged, General Ty's Paul replied. May the best fleet win. The exercise began with standard engagement protocols. The Corvin ships approached in a traditional battle formation, their organic weapons charging with soft, musical tones. Their shields shimmered like soap bubbles, beautiful but incredibly strong. The human ships did nothing. They maintained their cargo ship appearance and continued flying in a loose merchant formation. No weapons, no shields, no signs of preparation for battle. Are they going to fight, or just fly around looking harmless? Asked Commander Zethoval, the general's tactical officer. Patience, General Tyspal replied. I have a feeling we're about to learn something important. He was right. When the Corvin ships came within weapons range, the human vessels suddenly transformed. But not all in the same way. The lead ship, Honest Delivery, revealed itself as a heavy missile cruiser. Dozens of launch tubes appeared along its hull, each one targeting a different Corvin vessel. But instead of firing immediately, it began electronic jamming that disrupted Corvin targeting systems. The second ship, Cargo Express, became something the Alliance had never seen before. It didn't grow weapons like the others. Instead, it deployed clouds of small objects that spread through space like metallic snow. What are those? Commander Zethoval asked. Unknown, the tactical officer replied. They're too small to be fighters, too numerous to be missiles. The answer came quickly. The small objects were drones. Thousands of them. Each one no bigger than a person's hand, but equipped with sensors, jammers, and tiny weapons. They swarmed around the Corvin ships like angry insects, disrupting shields and interfering with communications. The third human ship, Friendly Merchant, revealed massive railguns that could punch through any armor, but it didn't fire them. Instead, it used them to launch non-explosive projectiles that created electromagnetic pulses. The Corvin ships found their systems shutting. Down one by one, the fourth ship remained completely unchanged. It still looked like a simple cargo vessel, but General Tyspal noticed that it was moving into position behind his formation. Somehow, the humans had gotten a cargo ship behind his battle line without him noticing. Sir, his communications officer called out, the cargo ship is hailing us. Put it through. A new voice came over the speaker. Captain Ben Murphy of the vessel Simple Transport. General Tyspal, this is a courtesy call. We've disabled your shields and weapons systems. Would you like us to continue the demonstration? The general looked at his tactical display in shock. His beautiful, powerful warships were floating helplessly in space. Their organic weapons were offline. Their shields were down. His entire fleet had been defeated by ships that still looked like cargo vessels. How? He asked. Adaptive tactics. Admiral Blake's voice came over the communication channel. Each of our ships can transform into whatever the battle requires. Missile cruiser, electronic warfare platform, kinetic weapons ship, or stealth infiltrator. The general watched as the human ships began changing back to their cargo configurations. The weapons disappeared. The drones returned to their hiding places. The jamming systems shut down. Within minutes, they looked like harmless merchants again. But you said you were carrying cargo, Commander Zethoval protested. We are, Admiral, Blake replied. Would you like to see? The cargo bay doors on the Honest Delivery opened. Inside, General Tizepal could see shipping containers full of manufactured goods, agricultural products, and mining equipment. Real cargo for real customers. Delivering these supplies to your outer colonies, Blake explained. But we're also capable of defending ourselves and others, if necessary. The two purposes aren't mutually exclusive. General Tizepal was amazed. You can transform any ship for any purpose? Within limits, Blake replied. But yes, our ships are designed for maximum flexibility. A cargo hauler can become a battleship. A research vessel can become a carrier. A colony transport can become a fortress. This changes everything, the general said quietly. Does it? Blake asked. We're still peaceful traders. We still want to maintain good relations with the Alliance. We're just better at protecting ourselves. Then you realized. The general thought about this. For 300 years, the Alliance had maintained peace by being the strongest military force in the galaxy. But now there was another force, one that was potentially stronger, but completely hidden. Admiral Blake, he said finally, the Alliance needs to discuss this development. Your capabilities far exceed what we thought possible. I understand, Blake replied. But I hope you'll remember that we've been traveling through Alliance space for 20 years without causing any problems. Our capabilities may be greater than you thought, but our intentions haven't changed. What are your intentions? General, Tizepal asked. To trade peacefully, explore safely, and defend ourselves if attacked, Blake said. The same as any merchant fleet. We just happen to be very good at the defending part. After the human ships left the system, General Tizepal called an emergency meeting of the Alliance Military Council. Representatives from all member species gathered to discuss the implications of what they had witnessed. They made our finest warships look like toys, reported Admiral Kexler of the Regellian Navy. Their tactics were unlike anything we've ever seen. The question is, said General Tizepal, what do we do about it? Earth has the most powerful military. 6 months after the Alliance demonstration, the galaxy had settled into a new understanding of human capabilities. Trade routes were safer than they had been in decades. Pirate attacks had virtually disappeared, and the various species were beginning to appreciate the wisdom of Earth's approach to military affairs. But questions remained. Why had humans chosen this particular strategy? What was the thinking behind disguising their most powerful warships as cargo vessels? The answers came from an unexpected source. Commander Sam Mitchell stood at the podium of the Galactic Academy of Sciences, looking out at an audience that included representatives from every major species in the galaxy. He was a quiet man with kind eyes and graying hair. He looked more like a teacher than a military strategist, which was exactly what he had been before joining Earth's defense forces. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, thank you for inviting me to speak today. I know many of you have questions about Earth's Merchant Marine Defense Protocol. Why do our warships look like cargo ships? The answer lies in our history. A holographic display appeared behind him, showing images from Earth's past. Ancient sailing ships battled across blue oceans. Submarines lurked beneath the waves. Aircraft soared through cloudy skies. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years, Mitchell continued. We've learned some hard lessons about survival, strategy, and the nature of conflict. One of the most important lessons was this: the most effective weapons are often the ones your enemy doesn't see coming. The display changed to show a simple-looking merchant ship from Earth's ocean-going era. It appeared to be carrying cargo, flying peaceful flags, and traveling alone through dangerous waters. This is a Q ship, Mitchell explained. During our maritime wars, we discovered that pirates and enemy vessels would attack what they thought were defenseless merchants. So we built ships that looked like merchants, but were actually warships. Hidden weapons, trained crews, and the element of surprise. He paused, looking around the audience. The Q-ship concept worked so well that we adapted it for space warfare. But we took it much further than our ancestors ever imagined. The hologram showed the construction of a modern human vessel. The audience watched as the ship was built with dual purposes from the very beginning. Cargo spaces that could house weapons. Hull sections that could reconfigure for combat. Systems that served both civilian and military functions. "We don't build cargo ships and then add weapons," Mitchell said. "We don't build warships and then disguise them as merchants. We build ships that are genuinely both. Every human vessel that travels beyond our solar system can carry cargo, conduct trade, perform research, transport colonists, and fight a war, all at the same time." Admiral Velcara of the Centaurian fleet raised her hand. "But why? Why not simply build obvious warships like the rest of us?" Mitchell smiled. "Because obvious warships create obvious problems. When you build something that looks dangerous, people start to worry. They build bigger weapons to counter your weapons. They form alliances to balance your power. They prepare for war because you look like you're preparing for war." The holographic display showed a map of the galaxy with traditional military forces marked in red. Everywhere red dots appeared, there were also clusters of other red dots nearby. Military bases facing military bases. Fleets watching fleets. Weapons pointed at weapons. "Look at the pattern," Mitchell said. "Every major military force creates a counterforce. Every weapon system spawns a defense system. Every show of strength triggers an arms race. Military power that is visible invites military competition." The map changed to show human trade routes in blue. They crossed the galaxy peacefully, with no clusters of opposing forces nearby. "Now look at our routes," Mitchell continued. "No arms races, no counter-deployments, no military buildups in response to our presence. Because nobody knows we're military forces until the moment we need to be." Dr. Zithi Olin of the Rigelian Science Institute leaned forward. "But surely there are disadvantages to this approach. What about morale? What about military tradition?" "Those are good questions," Mitchell replied. "Let me address them by telling you about Captain Morrison of the Peaceful Trader, the ship that first revealed our capabilities to Admiral Kethvar." The display showed Captain Jake Morrison standing on his bridge during the encounter with the Zephyrian fleet. He looked calm, confident, and completely at ease with his dual role. "Captain Morrison has been in our merchant marine for 15 years, Mitchell explained. "He's delivered cargo to 73 different worlds. He's negotiated trade agreements, helped with disaster relief, and transported refugees to safety. He's also commanded in 12 combat situations, protecting convoys, fighting pirates, and defending colonies." Mitchell paused. "Which role do you think he finds more satisfying? The merchant or the warrior?" The audience was silent, waiting for the answer. "Both," Mitchell said. "Because they're not separate roles. They're part of the same mission, protecting human interests and maintaining peace through strength. Every cargo delivery makes the galaxy more stable. Every defensive action protects peaceful trade. The two purposes support each other." General Kithival of the Draconian Empire spoke up. "But what about military efficiency? Surely dedicated warships would be more effective than dual-purpose vessels, would they?" Mitchell asked. "Let me show you something." The hologram displayed a comparison between a traditional warship and a human merchant vessel. The warship looked impressive, with obvious weapons and armor. The merchant ship looked plain and harmless. "This is a Zephyrian Imperial cruiser," Mitchell said. "Powerful, intimidating, obviously military. It can destroy most opponents in a straight fight, but it can only do one thing: fight. It can't carry cargo, conduct research, or perform civilian functions. It's a weapon, nothing more. The display changed to show the human ship transforming between cargo and combat configurations. This is the simple farmer, Mitchell continued. Captain Rodriguez's ship. In cargo mode, it can transport 10,000 tons of supplies, serve as a mobile hospital, or house 500 colonists. In combat mode, it can defeat ships twice its size. It serves both purposes without compromise. But the construction costs must be enormous, suggested Administrator Yexthil of the Trade Federation. Mitchell shook his head. Actually, our ships cost less than traditional military vessels. When every ship serves dual purposes, you need fewer ships overall. We don't need separate cargo fleets and battle fleets. We don't need separate support vessels and combat vessels. Every ship in our merchant marine can perform any mission. The hologram showed statistics comparing fleet sizes and costs. The human numbers were surprisingly low. We have the most powerful military force in the galaxy, Mitchell said, but we spend less on it than most species spend on their traditional navies. Because our military ships pay for themselves through peaceful trade. The questions continued. For hours, each species wanted to understand different aspects of Earth's approach. The Corvins asked about tactical flexibility. The Altarians inquired about technological integration. The Regellians wanted to know about crew training. Mitchell answered each question patiently, explaining how humans had learned to think differently about military power. They had discovered that strength didn't need to look strong, that the best weapons were the ones nobody expected, that peace could be maintained by forces that appeared peaceful until the moment they needed to fight. Finally, Speaker Veltar of the Galactic Council asked the most important question. Commander Mitchell, what would you say to species that want to adopt your approach? How do we build merchant warships instead of obvious military vessels? Mitchell considered the question carefully. First, you have to change how you think about military power. Stop trying to look dangerous and start focusing on being effective. Stop building weapons that advertise your strength and start building tools that serve multiple purposes. He gestured to the audience. Second, you have to accept that the best defense is often the one your enemy doesn't see coming. Surprise is more valuable than size. Flexibility is more important than firepower. The ability to adapt is worth more than the ability to intimidate. And third, Speaker Veltar prompted. Third, you have to understand that military power exists to protect peaceful activities, not replace them. Our ships fight when they must, but they trade, explore, and help whenever possible. The military mission serves the civilian mission, not the other way around. Mitchell looked around the room one final time. You asked why our warships look like cargo ships. The better question is, why do your warships look like warships? When you advertise your military power, you invite conflict. When you appear to be peaceful traders, you can maintain peace through strength without appearing threatening. As the presentation ended, representatives from dozens of species approached Mitchell with detailed questions. Many were already thinking about how to redesign their own fleets. The idea of dual-purpose vessels was spreading through the galaxy like wildfire, but Mitchell knew that copying Earth's approach wouldn't be easy. It required a fundamental change in military thinking. It meant giving up the pride and tradition of obvious warships. It meant accepting that looking weak could actually make you stronger. Over the following months, several species began